Have you ever felt the chilling silence of someone who promised you warmth? Have you ever poured your heart into a black hole, giving love, giving patience, giving everything, only to be met with a wall of indifference, a fortress of emotional unavailability? You've been walking on eggshells, dimming your own light, making yourself smaller, quieter, less, just to avoid triggering their retreat. You've been starving for a crumb of their affection, for a single moment of true, vulnerable connection. And for what? For the privilege of being alone together. Let me ask you a question that will define your next chapter. Your greatest power was not in figuring them out, but in finally choosing you. What if the very act you letting go, of you standing up, of you finally irrevocably moving on, was the master key that unlocks everything? Because the universe has a profound, unshakable law: when you change, everything around you must shift in response. And when an avoidant, that person who built a life around running from connection, sees you not just walking away, but soaring, the ground beneath their feet cracks open. This isn't about revenge. This is about physics. This is about the undeniable, magnetic force of a human being who has decided they are done waiting in the shadows and is now stepping into their sun. Let's dive into what truly happens in that moment of your glorious, unapologetic transformation. For the avoidant individual, the relationship or the dynamic you shared was often subconsciously managed to maintain a specific equilibrium, one where they held the power of distance. They were the sun and you were in orbit. Their comings and goings, their moments of intimacy followed by withdrawal, their hot and cold behavior. This wasn't just confusion, it was a control mechanism. It was a way to ensure that the connection never became so intense, so demanding, so real, that it threatened the core fortress of their independence. They believed, on a deep, often unconscious level, that they could always step back. They held the remote control to the relationship's intensity, and they trusted, with every fiber of their being, that you would always be there, in the background, waiting for the signal to re-engage. Your patience was their safety net. Your hope was the foundation of their entire avoidance strategy. But what happens when you take that away? What happens when you, the seemingly constant planet in their sky, suddenly ignite your own engines and blast off into a new galaxy? Their entire operating system crashes. The illusion that they could manage this, that they could have a connection without true vulnerability, that they could keep one foot in and one foot out forever, shatters into a million pieces. It's like a magician whose greatest trick is suddenly revealed, the smoke clears, and the audience sees the simple, pathetic mechanics behind the illusion. The control they thought they had was always an illusion you permitted. It was a game you agreed to play by their rules. And the moment you stop playing, the moment you stand up, pack your pieces, and walk away from the board, the game is over. They are left staring at an empty chair. This is the first and most profound shockwave. It's not that they necessarily miss you in that moment, though that will come. It's that they miss the certainty you provided. They miss the comfort of knowing someone was holding space for them indefinitely, no matter how poorly they treated it. You were the anchor, and now the ship is adrift in a stormy sea of its own making. This shattering is terrifying for them because it forces a question they have spent a lifetime avoiding. If I am not in control of keeping people at a safe distance, then who am I? Their identity is often wrapped up in being the one who needs space, the independent one, the one who can't be tied down. You moving on dismantles that identity brick by brick. It proves that their most defended castle was, in fact, a prison of their own design, and you just handed yourself the key to freedom. This initial phase is characterized by disbelief. They may not even believe you're serious. They are so conditioned to your pattern of waiting that your departure doesn't compute. They'll expect you to come back, to send that checking in text, to find an excuse to re-engage. But as days turn into weeks and your silence becomes a roaring testament to your new life, the disbelief curdles into a dawning, horrifying realization: you are gone, and you are not coming back. The control they cherished is gone, and in its place is a void more profound and frightening than any intimacy they ever ran from. Once the illusion of control has been vaporized, a new, even more primal emotion begins to stir in the depths of the avoidant psyche: the panic of irrelevance. For so long, their sense of self-worth, as fragile as it might have been, was subtly reinforced by your presence. Your desire for them, your longing, Your attempts to connect, these were all silent affirmations that they mattered. Even in their absence, they were a central figure in your emotional world. They were the unsolved mystery, the unfinished business, the ghost in the machine of your heart. You moving on exorcises that ghost. When you truly move on, you are not just physically leaving, you are emotionally evicting them from the prime real estate of your mind and soul. You are declaring, through your actions, your energy, and your new state of being, that they are no longer the central character in your story. This is a catastrophic blow to the ego. The avoidant individual often harbors a deep-seated fear of being unimportant, of being forgettable, of being nothing. And your vibrant, forward-moving life becomes a living, breathing billboard advertising that very outcome. They see you laughing, they hear about your new passions, they observe you thriving in a way you never did when you were with them, and a terrifying question erupts in their mind: was I holding them back? And if so, what does that make me? This is where the infamous hoovering attempt often begins. This isn't necessarily a conscious, malicious plan to suck you back in. It's a panic-driven, instinctual lurch towards a source of validation that has suddenly been switched off. It's the emotional equivalent of a power outage. They are fumbling in the dark, trying to find the switch that will turn the lights back on and restore their sense of significance. They might send a casual, "Hey, how are you?" text after months of silence. They might suddenly like all your old photos. They might reach out with a memory or a question about something trivial. What they are really asking, what they are desperately pleading for, is, do I still matter to you? Am I still relevant? Please, tell me I still have a place in your emotional universe so I don't have to face the terrifying emptiness of my own. This panic is so potent because it strikes at the core of human need. The need to feel seen, to feel valued, to feel that our existence has an impact on another. The avoidant, for all their posturing of not needing anyone, is perhaps the most vulnerable to this fear. They built walls not because they don't need connection, but because they need it so desperately that the thought of losing it or failing at it is paralyzing. Your move forward holds up a mirror to their deepest insecurity and reflects back a simple, devastating truth: the world, and most importantly your world, goes on beautifully without them. This panic is a critical crossroads. It can either be the catalyst for their own long overdue introspection and healing, or it can send them deeper into denial, seeking a new source of validation to avoid the painful work of self-confrontation. But for you, it is merely a signpost, confirming that you are on the right path, moving further and further away from the gravitational pull of their unresolved pain. The avoidant individual is a master architect of fortresses. They build walls of business, of hobbies, of emotional distance, of past grievances, all designed to keep the world and the perceived threats of intimacy and engulfment at bay. For years, perhaps their entire life, this castle has felt like a sanctuary. It was a place they could retreat to, a place where they were safe from the demands and potential disappointments of others. But this castle has a secret, a fundamental flaw in its design. It is not, and never was, self-sustaining. You, the partner who loved them, were the unseen caretaker of this castle. You were the one who brought warmth to the cold stones. You were the music that drowned out the silence. You were the light in the windows that made the castle look, from the outside, like a home. Your love, your attention, your very presence was the background hum that made the emptiness within bearable. When you move on, you don't just leave the castle, you turn off the music, you extinguish the lights, and you take all the warmth with you. What is left? The stark, cold, brutal reality of the empty castle. And in that void, the only sound is the echo of their own thoughts, the echo of their own fears, the echo of their own loneliness. This is the moment of profound and unavoidable self-confrontation. They are finally left alone with the very person they have been running from their whole life themselves. All the distractions they used, work, superficial friendships, the push-pull dynamic with you, are now ineffective. The castle is revealed for what it always was: a prison of isolation. The walls they built to keep others out become the bars of their own cell. They are forced to listen to the internal dialogue they've been suppressing. Why am I like this? What am I so afraid of? Is this all there is? They begin to replay memories, not with the distorted lens of "I needed space," but with the new, horrifying clarity of "I was pushing away someone who genuinely loved me." They start to connect the dots between their actions and their consequences. The pain of this realization is excruciating. It is far more painful than any argument or moment of conflict you ever had. This is the pain of staring into the abyss of their own making. This is where the avoidant attachment style, a clinical term, transforms from a psychological concept into a lived, felt experience of profound regret and loss. They realize that their strategy for self-protection was, in fact, the very thing that guaranteed their ultimate isolation. The games, the withdrawal, the emotional unavailability. It all seems so foolish and self-destructive in the cold, hard light of your absence. They may experience intense grief, not just for losing you, but for losing the possibility of what could have been. They grieve the person they could have become had they chosen courage over fear, connection over control. This stage is not for the faint of heart, and it is the crucible in which real lasting change can be forged, but it is a journey they must take alone. You cannot be the one to comfort them through the grief of losing you. Your job is to be so far gone, so deeply invested in your own magnificent life, that you are not even a spectator to their breakdown. You have left the castle, and it is now their responsibility to either dismantle it brick by brick or choose to live forever in its echoing, lonely halls. At the very core of the avoidant pattern lies a deep, often unarticulated terror. It's not just a fear of intimacy, it's a specific, gut-wrenching fear of engulfment, of losing themselves, their autonomy, and their identity in the needs and demands of another person. They believe, on a subconscious level, that to love fully is to be consumed, to be controlled, to disappear. So they preemptively disappear, creating distance as a way to assert, I am still here, I am still me. It is a defense mechanism against a phantom threat. But when you move on, you do something extraordinary and terrifying. You become the living, breathing, walking, talking embodiment of the exact opposite of their fear. You are no longer the engulfing partner wanting to merge with them. You are now the person who has found wholeness, autonomy, and a vibrant identity completely separate from them. In doing so, you hold up a mirror that reflects back the absolute falsity of their core belief system. Their greatest fear was that connection would mean annihilation. Your actions now prove that true connection is only possible between two whole, autonomous individuals. You are not asking for them to complete you. You have shown them that you are complete on your own. This mirror is agonizing for them to look into. It reveals that the enemy was never you or love itself. The enemy was the fear. The enemy was the false story they told themselves to justify their retreat. They see you whole and free, and they are forced to ask, if he can be so strong, so independent, and still be open to love, then what is my excuse? If love didn't swallow them up, then why was I so afraid it would swallow me? This realization dismantles their entire victim narrative. They can no longer paint you as the needy one or the clingy one. You have transcended that label and become the very picture of empowered independence. This is profoundly disorienting. Their entire worldview is turned upside down. The script they were following is now useless. They are left with the horrifying truth that the cage door was never locked. It was they who were too afraid to step out. You, in your magnificent moving on, are not a threat to their freedom. You are a testament to the freedom they were too scared to claim for themselves. This mirror forces a level of accountability that is rare and uncomfortable. They can no longer blame their behavior on your neediness, because your needs are now being met by you and by a life that no longer includes them. They are left with the bare, unvarnished truth their avoidance was a choice driven by fear, but a choice nonetheless. And seeing you thrive is a constant, unignorable reminder of that choice and its consequences. You become a symbol not of what they lost, but of what they surrendered due to their own unwillingness to face their demons. Many individuals who find themselves in relationships with avoidant partners are, on some level, rescuers. You saw the wounded soul beneath the cold exterior. You saw the potential for the amazing person they could be if only they felt safe enough to love. You believed with all your heart that your love, your patience, your understanding would be the magic key that would finally heal them and unlock the love you knew was inside. This is the rescue fantasy. And the avoidant, whether consciously or not, often participates in this fantasy. They present just enough vulnerability, just enough potential to keep you hooked, to keep you trying. They allow you to carry the hope for both of you. Your belief becomes the engine of the relationship while they remain passively along for the ride, free from the full responsibility of doing the hard, internal work themselves. But when you move on, you do the most powerful thing imaginable. You drop the rope. You stop rescuing. You stop carrying the hope. The fantasy doesn't just fade, it collapses in a spectacular, definitive implosion. This is a monumental shift. You are no longer the dedicated archaeologist trying to excavate the real them from the ruins of their trauma. You have packed up your tools and left the dig site to go build your own skyscraper. This collapse forces the avoidant individual into a state of radical self-reliance for the first time. There is no one left to do the emotional labor for them. There is no one to blame, no one to push away, no one to fantasize about. The spotlight, which was always diffused between the two of you, is now shining with blinding intensity solely on them. They are forced to ask, if no one is coming to save me, then what am I going to do? If my healing is not someone else's responsibility, then who is responsible? The answer, of course, is them. This is the moment where the fantasy of being fixed by love is replaced by the sobering, empowering reality that healing is an inside job. They realize that you were never the source of their salvation, you were a distraction from it. Your departure, as painful as it is, gifts them with the greatest opportunity of their life, the opportunity to finally grow up emotionally and become the hero of their own story, rather than a wounded character waiting for a savior. It removes the crutch they didn't even realize they were leaning on. For you, letting go of the rescue fantasy is your own liberation. You are freed from the exhausting, impossible burden of trying to heal someone who must ultimately heal themselves. You reclaim all that energy, all that focus, all that love, and you redirect it inward, becoming your own savior. The collapse of this fantasy is not a failure. It is a graduation. It is you both graduating from a dysfunctional dynamic into the raw, honest potential of your own individual lives. Your decision to move on is not merely a personal choice, it becomes a cosmic test, a final exam for the soul of the avoidant individual. It separates those who are capable of genuine growth from those who are permanently committed to their patterns of fear. This test presents a clear, binary choice with no middle ground. On one path lies introspection, humility, and the painful but rewarding journey toward becoming secure. On the other path lies blame, denial, and a retreat deeper into the fortress. The outcome of this test reveals their true character in its rawest form. When they are faced with the undeniable evidence of your happiness without them, how do they respond? Do they take accountability? Do they look inward and finally begin to ask the hard questions about their fear of intimacy, their commitment issues, their childhood wounds? Do they feel genuine remorse for the pain they caused, not as a tactic to win you back, but as a sincere acknowledgement of their own behavior? This is the path of courage. It may involve them reaching out not with a hoovering text, but with a profound, no-strings-attached apology. It may involve them finally seeking therapy, not for you, but for themselves. It is the path where they begin the long, slow work of dismantling their walls. The other response is the path of the eternal victim. They will double down on their narrative. You moving on will be framed as you abandoning them, as proof that you never really loved them, because if you did, you would have waited forever. They will vilify you to their friends and to themselves. They will find flaws in your new life, criticize your new relationships, and cling to any shred of evidence that allows them to believe they are the wronged party. This path is characterized by bitterness, a sense of entitlement, and a complete refusal to look in the mirror. Your move forward acts as the ultimate litmus test. There is no faking this. Their reaction is a pure, unvarnished expression of their level of self-awareness and their capacity for emotional maturity. For you, this test provides the ultimate closure. It gives you a definitive answer to the question, who were they really? Their actions in the wake of your departure will tell you everything you need to know. If they choose the path of growth, you can wish them well from a distance, knowing you were the catalyst for their awakening, but never needing to be part of it. If they choose the path of blame and denial, you can release them with absolute certainty, knowing you dodged a lifetime of emotional unavailability. You initiated the test not to punish them, but as a natural consequence of your own evolution. And in doing so, you free yourself completely, regardless of the grade they receive. In the end, this journey was never about them. It was always about you. It was about you reclaiming the power you had willingly, lovingly handed over. It was about you remembering that you are the architect of your own joy, the source of your own validation, and the master of your own destiny. When you made the conscious, brave decision to move on, you did more than just leave a relationship. You initiated a seismic shift in the very fabric of your reality. You stepped out of the shadow of someone else's fear and into the brilliant, unwavering light of your own self-worth. The reactions, the panic, the echoes, the mirror. These are all merely side effects, the aftershocks of your own personal earthquake. They are the universe's way of confirming that you are on the right path. The avoidant individual's journey is their own, and it is a path they must walk alone, just as you have courageously chosen to walk yours. Your liberation becomes the catalyst for their ultimate test, a test that will define their character far more than it ever defined yours. So let them see you move on. Let them witness your joy, your peace, your expansion. Do not hide your light to make their darkness more comfortable. Your thriving is not an act of aggression. It is an act of truth. It is you declaring to yourself and to the world that you are a prize, a force of nature, and that your love is a gift, not a bargaining chip to be used in a game you never agreed to play. Remember, the most powerful message you can ever send is not written in a text or spoken in a plea. It is written in the energy you carry, in the life you build, and in the unwavering standard you set for how you deserve to be treated. By moving on, you send a message that echoes across time and space. I am complete with or without you. My story continues, and it is magnificent. You are not moving on from a person. You are moving towards yourself. You are returning home to the one person who was always waiting for you, who always believed in you, who never left you, the magnificent, powerful, and whole individual you were always meant to be. The chapter with them is over, but your story, your glorious, epic story, is just beginning. Thank you. Thank you for having the courage to read these words, to feel this truth, and to choose yourself. Thank you for every step you take toward your own freedom. Your journey inspires me, and it inspires everyone who witnesses it. Now, go out there and build a life so breathtakingly beautiful that the past becomes nothing more than a faint memory, a stepping stone that led you to the incredible person you are today. Go and claim your power. I believe in you. Goodbye for now.